Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kushan Hopkins, and today in this Tech Talks, I'm going to talk about Pixlr X. This is a photo editing tool that I think has a lot of good classroom use and educator use. So yeah, I'm excited to jump in on this. Yeah, I'm going to yield you a little time. I'm joined here with my colleague here, so I'll let him introduce himself here.
Hello, I'm Kurt Bernhardt. I'm the Director of Technology for OPSRC, and Kanshan and I make up the tech team here. If you have any technology issues, need anything, just reach out to us.
Absolutely. And the best way to do that is through techteam@opsrc.net. They'll shoot an email to me and Kurt, and we'll try to respond to you as soon as we can. Additionally, if you're here in the live session, I have the slides on here. I'm going to read this out since this address is case sensitive. So it's lowercase t period ly/lowercase c 1 lowercase e p. Additionally, if you're listening to the recording, why don't you follow along with the slides that is on our Tech Talks page. You can get there through opsrc.net/Tech Talks. I'm just going to jump on that page for a quick moment so you can just see what you're jumping into over here. Yeah, we have a little description of our Tech Talks at the top. We have our upcoming ones. We still have a couple of visual ones coming up. We have a little button. So if you want to suggest a technology tool on here, even if it's like a small tool, I was thinking of ways to kind of like incorporate some of the shorter ones in there as well. So looking forward to getting some ideas to shoot it to us through that button. And you can also see the archive Tech Talks as well. All 33 of them, 33, 34 in that area of ones where I'm talking about technology standards, tech integration models, and individual tech tools. And so, yeah, and all those have videos and presentation slides attached to them. So check out those presentation slides. They got all sorts of resources and links inside of them with the associated tools. So I think it might be worth your time just taking a look through those. But yeah, for this particular tech talk, I'm going to be talking about Pixlr X, which is kind of a pared down version of Pixlr E. Both of them are essentially the same type of tool, except E is like the expert version, I guess is what it is. I'm not entirely sure what the E and the X stand for, but at the very least, I know what they can do. And one thing that you can do with Pixlr X is edit graphics, and you can also put them together on here. So here's a quick example of a little collage that I've put together using Pixlr X. You can see a couple of things I want to point out here. You can see I pulled in multiple pictures. In here, I added a little bit of text. I made some small edits, like I put borders on the letters and colors on here on a gradient. I was able to adjust the font. I put this little Art Deco border on the sides of it, which is real nice. And yeah, I was able to add a nice little blue background on here. And all of this is real easy to do. You're just able to jump in. And the more practice you get, the more comfortable that you can get messing with the little dials in here and adding objects into these little projects that you can make. But I think, especially since I showed the other tech talks that I've done, I think this tool works really well when it's paired up with other tools like Adobe Creative Cloud Express. Yeah, and just any of those tools down there that you saw on my Tech Talks page. I think it pairs really nicely with those. Real quick, my objective for this tech talk is after this tech talk, educators will be able to integrate Pixlr X to create and edit images and help students achieve their learning goals. Keep in mind, remember when we're introducing technology into the classroom, you always want to try to have a plan for it and always have students at the center of those plans. That way, we can always make sure that the students are going to get the most out of these tools. It's what we're bringing these tools in for. All right, here's a little schedule, just so you have an idea of what's going to happen in the next like 25 minutes that I have with you. I'm going to go over the tool to just give you a little overview. just to answer a couple of questions, point out a couple of features that I think are really great about Pixlr X. And then I'll move into a showcase. So this will probably spend up a good chunk of the time for the tech talk here. And then I'm going to move on to integrating technology here. I'll just talk a little bit about ways that you can think about it and plan for it. And then we'll combine those first two bullet points in the tool application section, where I try to help get you to imagine what would this tool look like in the classroom and being used, and just kind of suggest some applications for it. And then we're going to wrap things up. I'm going to share some resources. I'll send a link to my evaluation, and yeah, give you some links and things. And thank you for joining me. So yeah, that's the business. And I don't want to waste any time here. So let's go and move on to the tool overview. So for Pixlr X, a simple definition, if you're sharing this with somebody else, like a colleague or something, you can just simply say, oh, it's a photo editor at its core. And you can do this kind of one or two ways. You can either get something from their search engines. They have, if you're able to pull some videos, you can go through, and it's royalty-free stuff that you can pull and use. They have a couple of like simple objects like arrows and boxes and circles. So things that you can bring into the photo, or you could bring in something yourself. Like if you're using an iPad or a Chromebook or something like that, something that has a camera attached to it, you could take pictures, or you could pull it off your phone. And you can put it in this editor and make either simple edits or combine them together, synthesize something kind of like the collage I showed a second ago. A couple of features. Usually the stuff that I talk about, like these tools, require some kind of account, like you sign up or you use like a Google account or you sign up in here. You actually don't need an account for this. A little caveat to that, though, is if you want to save your work and put it somewhere else away from the computer that you're working on, you will need an account, so you can make that transfer in there. Otherwise, the projects are saved through cookies, so it's limited to kind of the local computer that you're working on. Another thing that is quite good here is that, and I feel like these two features kind of work together, is design templates on there. So like that collage I showed a little bit earlier, and essentially it used to be just a frame with holes in it, and I filled those holes with images. And so there's a lot of things in there that I'll show in a little bit once we get to the showcase part. And a lot of them are social media ready. So that means they got the file image file size ready to be in a very specific way. So if you're wanting to share anything that you created through Facebook or Twitter, you have those options in there, and everything is just set up for you. All you have to do is create, pick, and start creating. This works on a system of layered photo editing. So if you're familiar with like Adobe Creative Cloud, like Photoshop, or if you're familiar with GIMP, like photo editing tools like that, you'll see it's very similar to that in a lot of ways. It's not one-to-one exact at the very least, but basically each object is on its own layer, and you have to kind of like place it on there. And so if you're not familiar with that, I'll try to explain it once I'm there. And then finally, a little bit of actual recommendation. I think this would probably be good for students who are kind of like secondary up and talking the 6 through 12s on there. You might be able to use it with elementary students, but I feel like this tool is like for a little bit of advanced users. Maybe you want to save it for students that you feel are kind of good with that visual language. They're good with that technology. They just need a tool to kind of go in and take it up to the next step. Or you could leave it at the base level and just do simple one photo edits. That's totally fine. It's really up to you and how you feel, where your students are at in terms of their comfort here. And then finally, where do you access it? Of course, Pixlr.com. That is spelled Pixlr.com. I put the / here because in this particular tech talk, I'm going to talk about the X version of Pixlr. There is an E version, which is an advanced editor. It just it's the same kind of setup. And the same kind of resources, but it has a lot more tools to work with. It's like a whole toolbar, kind of like how Photoshop is on the left-hand side. You got a full toolbar and different tools that you can mix with. This one, it kind of pares it down a little bit. And I think this is a great place to start for like new students. So let's jump in. Let's go to the X part. Okay. right here, I'm going to point out top right-hand corner. I am not signed in. It's asking me to sign in. I can if I want to. I'm just going to choose not to, just to show you that you don't have to sign in. And yeah, you can kind of start in either one of two ways. You can either open up an image that you want to work on. You can drag and drop a file into here. You can paste it on a clipboard and dump it in here. They give you a bunch of instructions on how to do that, or you could pull it from like online. If you click load URL, you can copy paste the URL in there and start working with the image right then and there. The other way that you can work on a project is go to the left where it says templates. If I click that, you can see all of your options in this nice little line here. And you can even scroll down and see some recommended, some stuff that's already been created. And you can just make little simple edits. And it just kind of depends on what project that you want to work on here, what works the best for you. Or you can kind of start with some kind of blank canvas type stuff, but with the image size already adjusted for you. So if you want to make an Instagram story or a Facebook post or Twitter cover, there's flyers in there, business cards, there's simple collages. I feel like I'm saying that word, but you have options is what I'm trying to say here. So I'm going to go back home. On the left-hand side, I'm going to click the home button. I'm just going to click open image. I have, you know what? Yeah. Oh, thanks, McAfee. I appreciate it. We'll get back to you, man. We'll get back to you, McAfee. And let's do this horse picture that I have. Cool. Yeah, I just happened to have a picture of a horse my friend was showing me. So I was like, okay, cool. So yeah, boom, I got a horse up there. I want to make some edits on here. I want to jazz this up a little bit, but let me show you what we're working with. On the far left-hand side, we have all of these lovely tools that we can work with, and I'll be referencing a couple of them. I'm not going to go all over them. There's certainly not enough time to do that, but I just want to show you how to make simple edits. In the middle is our canvas space. We have, and I'm trying to move my zoom buttons out of the way. We have some lovely buttons down here at the bottom for you to use that I think would be good to note. Like, for example, the zoom out, zoom in button. So you can get a good depth of your space there. Additionally, you can you scroll your mouse wheel if you're using a mouse, and that will help you move some things around. There's some lovely hotkeys and things like that. And on the right-hand side are those lovely layers that I was talking about. Right now, we currently are working on one layer. So that means we have a simple photo. And all the edits that we are making here will be on the photo. Now, if you add anything like text or objects, those will go on different layers and you'll see how they interact in a second. But on the layers button, I see that there is a little lock button. Look over there on the right-hand side, a little box that shows my horse picture. I have that this is locked. So that means I can't do anything to this. I can click, nothing's going on here. But if I click the lock button with the left click, it will turn this into something that I can move around. Now, there's nothing back there. It's because I got layers on here. But let's figure that out. Let's add some stuff there, make that a little bit more interesting in a second. Now, you can do simple things to this photo. Like, for example, now that I have unlocked this, I can left click on any of the boxes and hold that and shrink and make this grow if I want to. I can even click on the little circle button at the top of my photos and spin it around. We're having fun on here. And one other thing that I want you to highlight here is that you can see that there are guides here as well. So if I want my photo to be centered right in the middle of my screen, you can see that those purple vertical and horizontal guides are there for me to make this, to help make this a little bit visually pleasing on here. Whenever you're making a graphic, you know, you want to make it so it makes sense to, you know, whoever the audience member on here. If there's something that just seems a little bit off, like you do something like that, it'll be like, okay, well, why there's just a photo floating around in there in space. Okay, one other nice thing about this, you know, I am going to shrink it down a little bit. Let me see if I can maybe add a background or something, jazz this up. Maybe it'll look like a nice, like a photo with a frame or something on it. So let me make this a little bigger here. There we go. That's good fun. Okay, so one really nice thing about this, the interface that I have here is if I select something like a layer, I can make adjustments on there on the fly using the action buttons on my left-hand side. Because notice when I click out of the photo, those settings disappear, but when I click on the photo, the settings appear because it's letting me know this object that I'm working on is where my adjustments are coming in. So like, for example, if I will come over here and I click on adjust button, there are all sorts of little buttons and dials and things that you can move on here. If you're introducing this tool to students, give them opportunity to play. They need to see, okay, what happens if I do this? What happens if I do that? And they need to kind of get that into their mind. So if I click on color and I can adjust the vibrance on there, you can see, oh man, that is really making those colors pop on there. Or I can adjust the hue. Okay, this gives it a completely different feel. It's kind of weird. It's even adjusting the horse, but maybe I'm trying to do some kind of like weird psychedelic thing to this photo. So you know what? Let's include some of that. Note that if I do close the color bit there, the little drop-down menu on there, I can free up a little bit more space so I can look at the other spots there. So I think you get the idea on how to adjust some of these. There are some presets at the top of my adjustments layers here. I have like black and white preset there, and it makes it look a little bit old-timey. I could do the pop preset, so has that kind of like vibrant look to it. Makes it look like it's a daytime scene, honestly. Or I could just do like an auto fix, so just like minor touch-up type stuff. It just makes the photo look a little nicer. So, and I can do that just at a click of a button. I don't have to mess with any of those dials. I could just click boom, and then it just looks a little bit nicer. So that might be good if you, you know, you wanted to dress up a picture up a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna click apply. Awesome. Looking pretty good. Now, I just closed my window on there, just in case you are navigating somewhere else. And you're like, wait, I wanna get my action buttons back here. You can go up to the top button where it says arrange and style, and click on that, and it'll lead you back to those actions there. So that's how to make small little edits, and you can do a lot. There's lots of little actions that I think are worth playing around with: the cutouts, the liquefies, the retouches, but also sometimes you want to add things in there. So you could go to something like layout and template, and in this third button over here, that's layout and template, I can click on the background tab, and I can add a nice little frame. Let's see, a little purple frame, I guess. And you can see there's all sorts of colors. You can get exactly the type of purple that you want, just adjusting this around, or you could adjust the hex code if you're familiar with that, or you could click the little dropper and maybe select a color that is already in the frame, and you can use that. So have kind of like a little bit of color harmony there. But there's so many different little options there that you can do. But one thing that I do want to point out in the layout here is if you click on set page size, you can adjust the relative size of the canvas itself. Because right now it just took the size of the photo that I threw in there. If you want to make any advanced edits on the page size itself, so let me shrink this down to like, I don't know, 850 to 600. You can see that it shrinks down my canvas a little bit. I might have to make a little bit adjustments, like my photo, I don't think it's centered anymore. But now it is. Looking great. Thank you, guides here. Okay, let me show you how to add stuff. There is 2 buttons, I believe, that are good, that's good for adding. It's the add text and the add element / image. Like if I click on add text, I can pick from any of the wonderful ones on here. And I do want to point out the ones with the little crown on there, unfortunately, those are premium stuff accounts. You'd have to pay extra for it. Or if you get an education account, I know it's like a couple of months free. I don't remember all the details, but I believe it's in my resource page. But yeah, if you want to add in a simple piece of text, click on add new text. It gives me a little box and some filler text just to show me what it looks like. And I can type something down like, oh, wait, oh, nope, sorry, I got to click on it. It's all right. There we go. I had to double click on it, but let me put my name down here. Additionally, you can see that the settings here on the left-hand side have adjusted to recognizing that this is text, that it's adjusting here. So that means if I make a change like on the font drop-down menu, I can switch this to, I don't know, this looks like a nice bold font, confident font. I can throw that in there, or I can adjust the fill button and, you know, change the color. Let's throw this in as some kind of crazy pattern. Let's do, yeah, let's do a little bit of that. Okay, yeah, that looks pretty good. That looks nice. But there's all sorts of adjustments that you can make on here, and so many little dials that you can mess with. Moreover, you can see that when I threw in a text piece of text in there, it created a layer for me. So that means I can adjust the text and the photo behind it separately on there, which is kind of nice. And if I wanted to, for some reason, put an object behind another object, I can click and drag the layer on the far right side. And you can see that the name is still back there, but it's like behind the photo. So it's like these are on two separate pieces of paper, and you're just kind of like flipping them around each other. Okay, one last thing is down over here. If you click the save button, oh, wait, okay, maybe not one last thing. Sorry, I thought I had less time than I did. Yeah, since I was talking about it, if you click the save button on here, you can see that there's a lot of different formats that you could take what you created and turn it into a file type that you could share with people. And if you're unfamiliar with the file types, totally fine. You can see under the file types, there are little descriptions letting you know what these are used for, what are these best used for. So things like JPEG would be for photos and sharing. PNG is great for icons and graphics. And then they have these other ones as well, like WebP and PZX formats. Additionally, if you click on the document tab up here on the top right, just pointing that out, you can spit this out as a PDF, which is really good for like flyers. And also, you know, really good for putting up on like marketing material, anything like that. Okay, I don't remember if I pointed it out, but there's the undo redo button. Some of my favorite buttons when it comes to doing any kind of design at all or anything really on the internet is if I wish everything had an undo button. And you can see if you hover your mouse over it, it even gives you a little tooltip, which is nice. So if I wanted to press Control Z, it undoes the changes I've made. And if you want to redo the changes you made, Control Y is how you do that. So real nice interface that you work with on there. One last thing is being able to bring in images. I don't think I mentioned that, and I feel like it's worth doing that. If you go over to the left, fifth button down and click on Add Element/Image, you can select any of the wonderful ones that they have. Unfortunately, you see there's a handful that are premium stuff, but like if you wanted to bring in an arrow on here, click on Arrow, spits it out for me, and now it is an object. And you can notice on the right-hand side, it's on a separate layer. So this arrow is independent from everything else that's on there, and I can make little adjustments on here. So I can say like, oh yeah, this is the head of a horse. It's right over here. If you want to know where the head of a horse is, it's right there. Or I could scroll to the top of the add element bar on the left-hand side and click on add media. And I can slap in another photo if I want. So if I want to grab one of my photos from the collage I made, boom, I can do that. Now, this image is really big. So if you do run into this trouble, you might have to like left click and like drag this. There might be a better way to do this, but I'm just going to left click and just kind of make this a little bit smaller. It's way too big for this canvas, but it's quite all right. I think you get the idea. Maybe I could just, nope, I can't do that. But that's fine. I'm just going to shrink that down. So it is something pliable that I can use. There we go. Very lovely. It looks like that horse is right at home with the rest of these crazy pictures that I have here. But I think that's enough for the showcase. I think you at least have an idea of how this tool can be used here. But what I would like to do, just take a small moment to talk about how would you integrate a tool like this into your classroom setting, or you get this tool in your students' hands? Because I know the temptation on this one is just to kind of keep it to yourself, but maybe try to think of ways that you can make this a student-centered type of tool on here. And there's lots of different ways that you can integrate technology and think about the way that it's designed. But I highly recommend that you pick a technology integration framework and go from there. It gives you kind of like a nice systematic way of thinking through how to use a piece of technology. So one of the ones that I recommend, and at least in this one, is the technology integration matrix made by the Florida Center for Instructional Technology. The basic idea behind it is this. You have 5 characteristics of meaningful learning environments. You can see that as the colored rows going from top to bottom, and from left to right, you have different levels of technology integration. And that can look different depending on your students' interaction with the technology tool and how you use the technology tool and what the classroom setting looks like. But for the most part, the educator, whoever's in charge of kind of the tool here, it will kind of decide, okay, what level are my students at here? And the 5 different characteristics would be active, collaborative, constructive, authentic, and goal directed. So this is kind of the student's relationship with the technology tool. So cool. I want to pick, what I want to do for a little bit is just pull one of these characteristics and go through a little activity that's called take it up a level. I'm going to pick the authentic characteristic, which is link learning to the world beyond the instructional setting. It's basically learning is not happening just in the vacuum of your classroom. It's being connected to a broader, larger context. And how can the technology tool help with that? And I think Pixlr is a fantastic way to do that. If you kind of bring in a student's constructive experience into the classroom. So like, for example, if you're introducing this technology tool in your classroom, you're going to start at the entry level of technology integration according to the matrix. So this is characterized by like more passive use. Students are just simply receiving information. They're soaking it up with their sponge brains. And the educator is kind of laying out resources to help them out with that. So an example of this would be an educator taking this tool and just modeling how to go in here, go to the website, make simple little edits, and students are like taking notes or watching, asking questions, any of that stuff. But kind of a passive use for a tool, a great place to start, I think, if you're just trying to ease students in and getting familiar with this tool in here. But once you feel like they're ready, take it up to the next step, and that's the adoption phase here. So this is more characterized by procedural use. The tool's in the student's hands now, and they're starting to just make those small moves here, taking a single photo maybe, and just practicing small edits, like adding a piece of text, adding a piece of media, making a small adjustment, seeing what some of those dials do. This is where I said it's characterized by like just giving students an opportunity to play with the tool and figure out what is it capable of. Because I assure you, if you have a classroom of students or just a handful, a small group of students that you trust, and you just have them play with it, they're going to figure out some crazy stuff that you didn't even know that the tool did. So I think this is a really exciting phase of the integration model. And then once you feel like they're really starting to get a grasp of this, have them create some kind of project. I think a really good like project-based learning can be implemented at this stage here. So this is the adaptation phase. It's kind of it's characterized by more independent use by the student. They feel comfortable with the tool, and I recommend that you have them start taking pictures. You could do some kind of lesson that is integrated with some of the content that you're trying to teach, and students can like take pictures of their surroundings and start combining them together. I highly recommend that you take a look at those collages that I was talking about a little bit earlier. There's templates for that, and just have students start putting some pieces together of a piece of their life, and connect it to and use it to connect to the content that you're trying to teach. So if you want to know more about the Take It Up activity, it's down over there. I put a link to it. It's made by Roy Winkleman. He's pretty awesome. He's put out a lot of resources for the technology integration matrix, but it's all there. Okay. I'm almost out of time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Anybody that's here, anybody that's watched the videos or here at the live session, huge thank you. So I have about a minute and a half-ish to kind of wrap this up here. The next couple of pages are dedicated to resources. I actually don't have a lot for Pixlr X. Usually I just have a full page of goodies, but it was actually kind of hard to find. Even though I think this tool is good, it was kind of hard to find resources for this. So I recommend you check these out. And if you find any, or if you create some, give us a shout out at techteam@opsrc.net. I would love to update this page with goodies. Next page is dedicated to the technology integration frameworks that I was talking about, and the ISTE standards as well. I think you could use any of these on this page and really get a lot of value. Even if you're not thinking about Pixlr X, think about the other technology tools that you're using it, the hardware, the software, any of that stuff. Put them through some kind of framework and see kind of where you are at and where you want to go with your technology tools and how effective is it with your students. And so if this is something you want to have a conversation about, yeah, give me a shout out. I would love to talk all day about just how to use these frameworks to make this a little bit better and more effective for your students. And one last page, huge thank you, huge thank you for anybody participating in these. I'm Kashawn Hopkins, joined here with Kurt Bernhardt. Thank you, Kurt. I'm our technology director. Together we make the technology team, which you can reach out at techteam@opsrc.net. Or if you want more, I have a link for opsrc.net /tech talks, and I have the social media buttons down over there. So if you want to give us a shout out, if we're doing great, if we're doing bad, it doesn't matter. Give us a shout out. We want to hear from you. We want to do better. We want to reach out and get these resources into the hands of people who need them. But at least for right now, I feel like I've talked enough. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Stay warm. Have a great day.